Hi, welcome all to another event on leadership development for future, preparing for unpredictable challenges. Leadership today is changing fast due to uncertainty and disruption. Old methods have been replaced by new approach that focus on flexibility, emotional intelligence, resilience, and adaptability. This event will focus on how organization can better prepare for future leader for unpredictable challenges. The key themes of the discussion will be what future ready leadership looks in a volatile world, how learning and development strategies must evolve to build resilient and adaptive leader, the role of technology, behavioral science in leadership development. To put more highlight on this topic, we welcome our esteemed panel member. We're happy to welcome Mr. Prithvesh Pathak as a head of learning and development at Alcom. With 26 years of experience in sales training, learning and development, Salesforce effectiveness in top pharma company, Prithvesh brings deep expertise to the role. He spent 16 years at About India, shaping global training strategies and digital learning initiatives. He worked with Bayer in both sales and training role. Prithvesh holds a BSc degree in chemistry and has completed professional certification in training, content design, and neuro-linguistic programming. We look forward to his insights as he's joined for this panel discussions. Please welcome Prithvesh Pathak. Our next
Hi
speaker is
everyone.
Our next speaker for this event is Dr. Kavita Pitale. We can call Bhakti. Uh, Dr. Kavita is a seasonal professional leader and a coach with 19 years of experience in HRD, quality learning and development. She holds a doctorate in neuro-linguistic programming, emotional intelligence, and is certified in wellness coaching, situational leadership, and behavioral training. Dr. Kavita has been recognized with numerous awards as Best Rising Learning and Development Leader, Best Keynote Speaker by Global Scale Council, and multiple awards from Times Group. She has worked with leading companies and state governments and global clients like JSW, Deloitte, Wipro, Tata, Aditya Birla, and more. A unique approach blends Indian Vedic wisdom with modern corporate strategies to deliver impactful program on emotional intelligence, mindset environment, women's rights, DI, and leadership development. Please welcome Dr. Kavita as she shares insights with us today.
Hello.
Our next panel, uh, Mr. Kapil Wahal, a Senior Learning and Development Consultant, having 30 years of experience in BFSI sector, nearly 2 decades in learning and development functionality across GCL. Is expert in investment banking, accounting, client onboarding, and other domains like KYC, AML, and CDD. Kapil has led complex program process transaction across Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Africa and America. Has managed large deals in establishing COE and business analysis. Mr. Kapil has delivered more than 15,000 hours of classroom training sessions on focusing on leadership, behavioral, and soft skill program. Please welcome Mr. Kapil Wahal. Next speaker for the event is Ms. Disha Kamath. She's manager in learning and development at Encora Innovation Lab. Disha having 13 years of experience in learning and development, specialization in product and IT services, an expert in technology and leadership training, helping employees enhance skills and knowledge. Disha has designed and implemented managed training programs to deliver and to drive the professional growth. It is more focused on building impactful learning strategies to support organizational success. Please welcome Disha Kamath. And nothing, not the least, we know that without the moderator, we cannot take this event further. So please welcome Prakash Iyengar, the moderator for the event. Prakash is an assistant director, human resources at CES Limited, and a strategic HR business partner, specialization aligning business people practice with aligning the business goals to impactful learning and development initiative. With a background in hospitality management and a SHRM certification from IIM Kozhikode, Prakash brings an employee first performance driven mindset to the table focused on engagement, talent development, and continuous improvement. Excited to hear from Prakash Iyengar. Now, I just to inform you that we would be having this program like there are four sections, four segments, each having four questions, right? The attendee who is joining the program, I humble request that whatsoever the questions or doubts you have, you can put it into a Q&A window or in the chat window, which will be addressed towards the end of the program, right? So, not taking much of a time, Prakash, all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Cherian. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for taking the time out and joining this session. This very important topic about leadership development for the future. Uh, as you know, we are all living in a world where change is completely constant. Not just constant, it's also accelerating. From a VUCA world, we are now going to the Bani world. So it's just becoming more and more complex as we go ahead. Our goal today is to explore how the leadership development needs to evolve, not just to meet today's demand, but to be resilient and agile enough for whatever the future holds. We are going to be doing today's session in four segments. We have got an highly esteemed panel. I'm not. I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that we are really waiting to listen to the inputs that's going to be shared by our panel today. So, without much ado, I would like to start off with the first segment that's evolving leadership skills for a volatile world. The focus out here is going to be on what kind of leaders the future demands and the changing expectations in leadership roles. So, with that, I would like to ask the first question to Dr. Kavita Pitale. Ma'am, how can we prepare leaders to remain calm and effective during crisis and high pressure situations?
Yeah, first thing, thanks for calling me here on this wonderful event and to be a panel leader. And a wonderful question here: how leaders can maintain themselves in the crisis situations. So leaders are meant for crisis situation because they're masters of it. That's what I feel, right? Because over a period of time, every leader who, he has grown up seeing different circumstances and environments around. So the most important key factor for any leader, for that matter of fact, the crisis management would be a real crisis if he takes load only on himself. And as a leader, you're not supposed to take a load on yourself. You're supposed to lead by examples and create roadways and pathways which can help others to understand. So when you're doing this, you can't put yourself into crisis. The most important aspect, what I feel being an NLP practitioner and emotional intelligence expert, is how do you really manages your emotions? How do you really see situations beyond the horizon, because as a leader you're expected to fly high like an eagle, as and the best example of an eagle, an eagle flies above the storms, about those cloudy, heavy cloudy things, and he does not take a shelter. Similarly, a leader is expected to, find out a different alternative instead of, getting emotionally entangled into the crisis situation. Because if you're panicked, the entire organization is panicked. It's like if the brain is not working, the entire organ of your bodies do not work. Your body is paralyzed, and a leader cannot get paralyzed, right? Be it whatever situation you are in, you are a fighter, you're a born fighter, you're a born warrior. And with that spirit, when a leader looks forward, I don't think he'll have crisis, but he'll have crisis with solutions. You don't have a crisis situation. Very, very important is your self regulation. How do you maintain yourself? Because if you're not able to calm yourself, if you're not able to be mindful about your own thoughts, your action, your deeds, you're not able to maintain your emotion, the kind of message that you cascaded down the lane is absolutely negative, right? And if you can't fly, none of your members would be able to fly. And that's what I would expect any leader, because, and I'm sure everybody in the panel and people who are would agree at some point of time when you were leaders or you had those leadership roles to play, you wear that hat, you wear that wise hat, that I know everything, it's okay, fine, there are problems, there are, very tyrannical situations, there are difficult, protocols to be followed, there are difficult circumstances, but it's okay. That mindfulness is very, very, very important. It's very easy to say, it's difficult to implement, I understand. But for that, your self-regulation, your self-awareness, putting, all the mindfulness activities, meditation, it's very, very important. Journaling is very important for a leader, because unless and until he's not into that discipline forum, in that framework, and he's not able to manage himself, he will not be able to lead. So that's what I would say, a very, very high on EQ, emotional quotient, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, your meditative approach. Think what can happen worst. It's already a worst situation. What can happen beyond that? A thinking beyond the normal standards, a thinking beyond the horizon is what a leader in this situation needs to do, so that he's able to calm himself. He's able to be composed and take subtle decisions, take logical decisions, and not get carried away by the notions around. Because there would be a lot of feelers, that there would be a lot of airs that would come with different smells and different sounds, right? But as a leader, if you're not able to filter it, that probably you're playing with the task, and your decision can impact, or rather heavily impacts, adversely on the entire organizational culture and know-how, right? Because it's a wrong, because we all say, we must have heard it a lot of times on a lot of social platforms, or in theories and theses, right? Normally a person do not leave the organization because of the HR policies, or the payrolls, or the hikes and stuffs. He leaves because he's not able to find that kind of a leader where he can look upon, he can resonate himself, he can get aligned with the values and systems. And that's the reason probably he leaves, because that manager, that leader, whoever is in his front, he's not able to see the right picture. So because you as a leader, you are the mirror, and mirror cannot say that, I can't see anything. A mirror has to reflect positivity, assertivity, and for that, that thought process, that assertive thought process, that affirmative strong mindfulness has to be in place with a leader. And that's how he or she will be able to put himself into a calm situation, compose analytics, and give a right decision, take a right call. It's okay to pause, it's okay to breathe, and it's okay to breathe little more than others, because whatever you take a call, the entire organization is going to follow that structure, because you're like that parent who cuddles the entire system around. We never say that, anything wrong things that we learn from the society, we learn from our own house. It's the upbringing. Similarly, that's what we say in the society, and that's how the upbringing of any employee to grow from zero to an X level is in the hands of a leader. And hence he has to be very, very calm, composed, rational, and logical. Very, very effective his emotional intelligence, his mindfulness, his spiritual intelligence. Think about, pause, think what, different theses can work out, what different situations can work out, or talk to your own mentor or people of your wavelengths, so that, you're able to come out of that problematic situation. Because I don't say that a leader is a god, right? None of us are divine, but yes, we are a part of divine. We can think in a different way, and we can analyze that situation, and that's how the leader will be able to keep himself in the right situation. That's my say, Mr. Prakash.
Thank you, Dr. Pitale. And I think you've touched upon in so many spots. Like, I think you just set this entire thing for a great discussion. And the natural progression would be to Mr. Kapil Wahal. Uh, Taking from what Dr. Pitale said, what is the role of emotional intelligence and empathy in future leadership, as per you, sir?
Thank you, Prakash, for that question. Thank you, Dr. Kavita, for setting the right context. And thank you to
Thank you.
EduRamp Learning Service for, bringing all of us together. Happy Friday to all. We are
Happy
discussing
Friday.
this on a Friday afternoon, so let this be a relaxed discussion, right? So, Prakash, you talked about the importance of empathy, right? Now, I am one of those who strongly believe in a leader having empathy towards everything that the leader sees in his or her surrounding, right? Unless and until we bring in the element of empathy, I think today, as a leader or as a potential leader, right? We always talk about, the second line of leadership or the third line of leadership. We groom people to become leaders, and how do we groom them unless and until we set the right example? So I think in today's time, we had the VUCA environment, and now we are looking at a altogether different environment, right? So having that empathetic approach is essential today in today's time, because I can give example from the BFSI industry, or for that matter, any industry. We all come from different industries, and in today's time and scenario, Prakash, we work in a very stressful environment, if I'm allowed to say so. Every industry is driven by targets. Every industry is driven by cutoffs. There are people working across different shift timings. I can quote examples from the BFSI space where we start as early as 2:30 a.m., right? And we finish as late as 4 a.m. in the morning, right? And our people look forward to leaders having that empathetic approach. Imagine somebody logging at 6:30 p.m. or 7 p.m. In the office, and that person is already going through some emotional turmoil, or there could be anything going on in his or her personal life. And that's where I think today a leader is no longer just a leader. For me, a leader is an extension of my family, right? Though we say that, don't bring your home to work and vice versa, don't carry your work to home. But I think we spend majority of our time in the office environment. We spend 9 hours, 10 hours, 11 hours, 12 hours, whatever is required, right? So that environment has to have that human touch. I think today, human touch is extremely, extremely important, right? Because I might be going through stress in my personal life, or there could be stress at work also. But if there is a supporting leader who comes and puts a hand on my shoulder and tells me that, Kapil, it's okay, we are in it together. So I think that's where empathy is very, very important. And if we quote some of our religious scriptures, if you talk about Bhagavad Gita, or these days everybody is following and talking about Swami Sri Premanand Ji Maharaj from Vrindavan. He talks about empathy all the time, right? Across, cutting across all the levels. So I think that human touch is extremely important. If somebody is stressed out on a floor, as a leader, it's my duty to walk up to that person, put a hand on his shoulder and say, okay, let's go out, let's have a cup of tea, let's talk it out. I think these days it's very, very important that we keep an open channel of communication, and that can only come, or that will have more meaning to it, if we have an empathetic approach towards what my team members might be going through, right? So in a nutshell, Prakash, I would say that human element, human touch is the need of the hour, right? Because we saw what happened during the COVID period, when COVID stuck and suddenly everybody was working from home. We didn't knew what the future was going to bring to us, right? And that's where I think we saw teams bonding, even though everybody was working in a virtual environment. But we saw that bonhomie, we saw that team bonding, we saw teams coming together, celebrating occasion virtually, having tea sessions virtually. That was people say so many negative things about COVID, but I would say COVID has actually given us a lot of new ways of looking at life, new ways of bonding with people. Nobody would have imagined that you would have tea or coffee with your fellow colleagues virtually, sitting over a Zoom call or a Teams call or a Google's Meet call, right? So I think thanks to COVID or the VUCA times that we saw, and we are anticipating another round of, God forbidding, COVID hitting us again. There are news coming across the globe, so many cases identified, right? So again, I think the need of the hour, that as a leader, we build that culture of human touch, we build that culture of empathy. So that would be my submission, Prakash.
That's so well put, Mr. Wahal. And ironically, I think COVID really got us back into a human connect, though it was in the virtual space. But yes, it did help us out in that. But
Absolutely.
having said that, I would like to go to Mr. Prithvish Pathak. So, keeping in mind that yes, there is emotional intelligence and empathy, one of the very important things. But as a leader, how do you balance strategic foresight with operational agility in your leadership teams?
I think thanks for that question. I think this is one of the most critical tension in leadership today. Thanks to my esteemed panelists who spoke before me. I think they have covered quite a bit in terms of emotional intelligence and empathy and whatnot. So it's all about how it's about thinking long term while moving fast in the short term. And the best leadership teams know that foresight and agility aren't opposite; they are actually interdependent on each other. And so some of the things that we can always do is we start with a very clear strategic purpose, a clear purpose, a long-term priority, and some of the we need to mention the anticipated trends as leaders. Okay, and this provides direction without over prescribing the path. And when people know that while we are doing something and where we are headed, and that they can adopt and where they can go freely. We also need to also look at the building agile decision making structures. Will empower small cross functional teams to make to empower them to take decisions within the strategic boundaries, obviously. They operate in this will bring a lot of speed, a lot of learning quickly, uh, while checking in regularly with the leadership for their alignment. Okay, the third, I think what is required here is foster a culture of continuous learning. So we encourage our teams to scan the horizon and listen to the ground, um, look at market, look at ground realities, learn. It's like a baby. And the fourth, I think, to balance this will be the your integrate your strategy reviews into operations. Okay, so rather than separating a strategy from operation, we embed quarterly strategy reviews in our own operational rhythm, and teams reflect on what is shifting, what is learning, and whether we need to pivot or double down. We care. So this is what is required. So we don't separate these two together. So just to summarize this, what I say is that in the short, your strategic foresights gives us operational agility, gives us the momentum. When both are built into the way we lead, we stop choosing between a planning and an action. Okay, so it's like we try to do together. So it's not, it's today's world, we can't think that we will plan first and then we will implement. Okay, it's actually goes hand in hand. So if you have a large task in your hand as a leader, we need to guide our teams that hey, you start with a plan, start executing the plan, and as the course of action keeps on happening, start planning for the next level. Okay, so it's like it goes in hand, and don't separate it. That okay, let entire planning happen for 6 months, and the next 6 months we try to operationalize it. It's about strategy, and your operations should go hand in hand in together. That's the way I look at think to how our leaders should be balancing in today's world.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pathak, for that insight. So, after having heard all of you, I think I would go to Ms. Disha Kamath, and with you, I would like you to just like relook at the entire thing what we have discussed right now to summarize it. To just mention what leadership qualities are most essential in navigating unpredictable, fast-changing business environments.
So thank you so much for the question. And most of the points which I wanted to discuss here is already spoken by the esteemed panelist. Okay, so yeah, as what are the leadership qualities a leader should have is adaptability and agility. Okay, so ability to adapt quickly and effectively to the changing circumstances and challenges, because as a leader, Okay, so we don't know when there is going to be a circumstance, when there is going to be a challenges which is going to come up. Okay, as a leader, we should be quick and we should be very agile to adapt these changes. Okay, so let me give you an example. Okay, when I was working as an individual contributor, okay, so whatever task was assigned to me, I used to just complete it within given time period, and then I used to submit it to my leader, to my manager. Okay. But when I started managing a team, it was not easy because, I had to deal with different people, different behavior, different characters. Okay. And for me, initially it was very difficult. I was thinking like, what am I doing? Okay. I was better as an individual contributor, but now like, I'm managing people and, if I give them any timeline, they're not completing it on time. And this is affecting our work, and there is a lot of escalation. So these were the thoughts which I got in my mind. But uh, but I was there were few mentors who mentored me. Okay, and they told things are like this. When you're dealing with people, it is very difficult to, the people management is the most difficult task one can handle, is what I heard from my mentors. And they knew what are the areas where I had to improve. Okay, and they helped me to improve in those areas. And by this I was able to adapt as a team lead. And I was able to quickly adapt the changes. And this brought trust in my team members, and we were able to collaborate and work together. And we were able to submit the tasks on time. Next thing is emotional intelligence. We all are human beings. Okay, so we have to manage both personally and professionally. As a leader, we should have that emotional connect with our team members. We need to know what our team members are going through. Okay, and we need to spend time with our team members by understanding if they are going through any emotional challenges. And we need to be there to support them. Okay, so instead of putting pressure on them, I assigned this task to you, you did not complete it on time, and the task is getting delayed. Sit with that person, understand from that person what exactly he or she is going through. Okay, if possible, try to help that person to come out of that situation. By this, you will be building the trust, and this will help to foster the collaboration and maintain a model during the turbulent times. Okay, so apart from this, effective communication. So when you are be very clear and transparent to your team members. Okay, and if possible, have like weekly connects or fortnightly connects. Check with your team members what are the challenges and difficulties they are going through. Okay, by this it will build the trust and ensures your team members and they'll be aligned. Okay, and especially in conditions like in difficult conditions. Okay, you will be able to shift rapidly, and you will be able to collaborate and work. So these are my thoughts about the leadership qualities.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kamath. And now that we've kind of set up what are the kind of leadership skills, the qualities, as Ms. Kamath just said right now, but I think it's like easier said than done. We kind of need to remember that the leaders themselves are human beings, and development is something constant, especially in an ever-changing world. So let's go into the next segment. And with all the stalwarts out here who are a part of the development space in the organizations, it is time for us to reimagine leadership development programs. Uh, what we would like to really focus on rethinking how we design and deliver leadership development experiences. And with that, Dr. Pitale, would
Yeah.
like to know from you, would like to take down your points on how are leadership development programs evolving to meet the needs of today's complex world.
Okay. In fact, what I would like to say, it's a beautiful thing to understand whether leadership requires learning and development, right? And it's a big question because normally when you say, we need to do learning and development, most of the people would say, or most of the corporates would say, mid management ko karao. Let the juniors do that. And if you happen to do your trainings and development, because I'm into this space for last 20 years, And when you do training and development only for the down levels or mid levels, they say that, Bhakti ma'am, Kavita ma'am, whatever you say, doctor, we agree to this, but what about our bosses? And this is what a continuous feedback that I've received, which made me think, we need to do something from the top. It has to, rainfall comes from the top. It does not goes from the earth to the sky. Right? The water falls from the sky to the earth. And the same principle, the same universal principle is also applicable in the corporate life. The reason is it is easy telling them do this way. The biggest challenge what I feel today in the corporate world is it's not what needs to be done or how needs to be done. It is why it needs to be done. And I think this why first needs to get grilled into the leaders' brains. I'm sorry if I'm being very blunt, and it may sound a little shrewd for everybody to know that, but unless and until the leaders are not drilled into that learning space, they don't find it's not just a tick mark activity. That number of X hour needs to be done, right? Nothing can fall in place. You're not building up the culture. We were discussing, the panel was speaking about empathy. Kapil sir nicely said about empathy. Disha man spoke about agility, right? I always say empathy is an elder sister of empathy is a younger sister of compassion. Compassion is the elder sister of empathy, right? I'm empathizing with your problem and situation as a leader. How is it going to result? Unless and until I'm not compassionate about why it is happening for my team, right? Unless and until I'm not bringing that agility, that change which is required to think about these circumstances, right? And for this, I need to understand what are the latest trends, what are the market best practices, what is the corporate, where is the industry going, where is my company going in, right? I say it's my company. It's not that I own the company. Yes, I do own a company as a leader. I'm not saying it's in terms of the title, but that sense of belonging has to be in your heart. It's not only the HR who are the heart, brain, and soul of the company. It is the all leaders who are there in the leadership forum are the heart, brain, and mind and soul of the company. And hence, training and developing your heart, mind, soul, brain on the regular intervals becomes very, very important, very, very crucial. Right? Reason is again, coming outside from this corporate world, and let's put it into normal layman language in your basic general life, right? 99% whatever we are, good, bad, ugly, right? We have been because we have seen what our elders have done, right? Probably there were good practices that we brought in, made us a good person, a particular factor. Probably maybe the anger, the aggression we saw in our family brought us into that kind of a thinking mood, right? We went into our schools, we went into our colleges, into our peer groups and the other environmental circle. We started collecting few samples from everywhere. That is how got inculcated into our behavior, isn't it? Right? I think everybody here would agree to that. And that's how exactly the corporate world also, behaves, revolves, evolves. Rightly, Kapilji said, right, more than, your time that you spend with your families and beloveds at your home, you spend your time in your offices. So, and especially for a Mumbaiker like me, we run across, I mean, all the Mumbaikers here would agree to this. I'm sorry for being a little biased, but yes, high metropolitan cities, Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, and especially Mumbai, because we run across the clock, right? Every single breath that we take is across the clock, right? Millisecond becomes also very important. And in that way, if you see your 24 hours of chatter, it's more than 12 to 18 hours because it's of your 8 hours or 9 hours of your duty. If you're a Mumbaiker, you're traveling 2.5 hours one way, 5 hours a daily, your 8 hours of duty and 5 hours of travel. And then some extended hours that you have in your offices is almost 12 to 18 hours, right? It's almost like your first home. Your family becomes your second family, but your corporate lifestyle, your corporate environment becomes your first family. And if you're going to stay with this family and not learning the new trends, the new customs, the new practices, the best practices to make your this family well equipped, right? You're going to be behind, you're going to be obsolete. Hence, it becomes very, very essential for the leaders. And as a leader, if you're not aware, if you're not acquainted what is happening in the industry and your juniors are telling you about it, then think probably where do we stand? As a leader, you are an epitome of knowledge, you're epitome of wisdom, you're epitome of the industrial know-how, you're an epitome, you're a wisdom of all the technical know-hows, right? You should be educating, you should be imparting, cascading the latest trends, hacks, practices that boss, we need to do it this way. My team, these are the best practices. Let's try and let's be agile. Let's turn the things around, right? You need to bring in that spirit, but for that, you have to get trained. And however learned by experience, age, you are, if you're not upskilling yourself, if you're not reviving your skills, right, we become stagnant. It is as simple as a water kept into a bucket. You don't touch it for 4 hours or at least for 2 days, it becomes stagnant, right? And nobody would like to follow and use that stagnant water. Similarly, when in your leadership, if you're stagnant with your knowledge, if you're stagnant, I know everything, you need to do this, right? Your down levels are going to say, Arey, my bosses only is not so, what do you say? He's not so serious about things. He's just making it's a tick mark activity. Let me also do as a tick mark activity. And that's how the second leadership, the third leadership, the managers, the DGMs, they follow the same trend. And at the end of the day, it's a loss for the company. It's a loss for your family. If you're saying your corporate professional environment is almost like your family, right? So you become the parenting head of the family. You can't take wrong decisions. You need to learn new things. And because the learn word stands as leveraging earnings, you're leveraging new lifestyles, you're leveraging new systems, new techniques to make your lifestyle very, very smooth. And it is okay, right, to not check your mails for a day, not have your A2D meets, not go around your plant or your factory or your offices, but sit for a couple of hours and learn new things. Because that investment on those couple of hours is going to have greater productivity 200 times when you start practicing and your people start practicing. As a leader, you have been looked upon for your skill set, you're looked upon for your knowledge, you're looked upon for every now and then. You're looked upon for integrity, ethics, knowledge, and it all comes by your learning in your practice. It's good to have gyan, but if it's not implemented, it's of no use. It's sad, when I was in US, Bhagavad Gita has been taught that in the management, especially for the leaders, right? And for a year, it is just a granth, it's just a spiritual book. Please don't catch me by any words or religion, caste, and creed. Right? But that's practicality is what I've seen in US when I was for the Global Skill Development Council in US. And their leaders, they are the people. I mean, it was very surprising to see in one of my visits to Japan when I was handling a Toyota project, right? They have this day on Saturdays. The first 2 hours, what they do is the CEO, the CFO, the CTO of the organization gets down and starts the cleaning. They have this cleaning day, clean your day. So he starts, cleaning his desk and things around his places, and every manager does it. And now that has become a traditional culture. Now, why the CFO, CTO, CEO has to do that? But he says, it's my company, it's my organization, my cabin, right? And that is what is learned because hygiene is important. So what I'm trying to say is, there's a small little hacks, but it will only come when you start learning what are the new practices. You leverage your earnings by implementing those, those knowledge into practicalities. And when you do it yourself, right, your team gets inspired, your team gets motivated. That if my leader is putting so much of efforts into learning and understanding the best culture, the best practices, the best hacks, right, let me also put some efforts and add on more. And then collaboratively, let's take the things ahead. Let's sail the ship in the right direction, right? Because if nobody is able to, at least the sailor needs to know how to, ride the ship. So you're the person where you have the accelerators in your hand, but you need to learn the new techniques. Gone are those days, that you follow the old orthodoxial, conservative styles. Do at times it is good to do that, but do those old techniques into a modern way. But for that, learning new techniques, new hikes becomes very, very important. And I feel I strongly appeal, I strongly recommend all the leaders who are here and everywhere, right? For us, few hours, it is for your self-learning, self-growth, right? And it is for your self-development. When you develop yourself, your team is developing with you, right? Because you're that mirror, you're that spirit, you're that energy. that would drive the entire energy of the organization together. And hence learning and development becomes very important. It should not be a tick mark activity, but after a learning and development or a coaching session which is done, sit down with your team members, discuss what went great, why it was important, why he or she has participated in this particular conclave, in the particular learning session, right? Why it sounds to be a little difficult, but why it is going to be useful for you in the longer run. And let's how to do it together. If your why is clear, the how becomes very clear, right? So while learning, yes, learning first, it will help me to keep abreast with what is happening in the industry. Second, I would have every knowledge of what is happening in my industry, with my competition, with the world around. If the team is falling short of energy and knowledge or anything, I am there. I'm a support. They can look upon me, they can bang upon me, right? And I myself is growing, right? Because when I start growing, I'm able to have that succession planning done. So it's a win-win situation for overall forum, for the overall corporate environment, and hence learning becomes very, very important. That's my say on it, Mr. Prakash.
So well put, Dr. Pitale. And I think you brought on the most important topic right at upfront. And yes, that is extremely important that it has to be targeted at the top right away. Me being at the risk of assuming out here, but I would like to say it also happens to be like most of the leaders get into this thought of have been there and done that, and then they feel that development is something for people who are still growing on, and I think that's where the stagnancy comes. But having said that, Mr. Pathak, how do you tailor leadership journeys or leadership development journeys to be more personalized and experience based, so to get the leaders also excited about it?
Well, so here I would say that leadership journeys to make it more personalized and experience based. Usually, a practice is very good is you don't prescribe a curriculum to the leader, right? Make it more experiential and just don't prescribe anything to the leader. Okay, let it flow as the leader wants it to. Okay, that's the first fundamental principle that we need to follow rather than prescriptive curriculum to a leader. Okay, so sometimes it's not accepted very well at the leadership level. The first thing is to do a very deep diagnostic, help the leader to do a complete 360-degree feedback, understand their strength assessment, map the leader's profile and their career aspirations. So once this deep diagnostics is shared with the leader, then what we need to do is to give them a choice driven curriculum. So it's like a today coincidentally we have the help of AI. We talk, it's a buzzword today, and we have this AI recommendation where it will help the leader to actually pick and mix their learning pathways. Okay, so they can start learning on a self-paced basis and whatever they want to learn with the suggestion which AI will give, basis the leader's profile and the career aspiration and the feedback and the strength. The third is you need to also put them into some stretch assignments. So, like embedding them into some kind of a cross-functional rotations, action learning project. You push your leaders to the new roles, real business challenges. It may not be completely related to their own function, but various functions you need to push them. Right, so they exactly start learning what is the problem statement, in not only in their function but in all other functions. Then make it more holistic learning experience for them with these stretch assignments. Fourth, I would say you make it more immersive take and micro learning, that I think everybody will understand today the importance of micro learning, and make it it's more of like today we have this mobile applications where you can do a lot of micro learning that is possible. So in all bite size, the learning is available, and you don't make them sit for hours together to do an assignment or to learn some new techniques. It's more of every time you give them the small nudges, which actually, and they're intelligent people actually enough to take from this small learning, and they build their own ways and ways how they need to learn there and through their own experience, right? And the another important is the real time coaching and reflection. Okay, so uh, provide just in time executive coaching to them. Structured peer reflections are very important here, and this coaching doesn't restrict this coaching only to key. This coaching can be done only with a senior or a coach. It can be just done with any subject matter expert. It can be done with a peer level. It can be even done with some of the juniors can get assigned here. It's all about learning the and reflecting themselves. So that's providing them with the real time coaching and reflection. And last but not the least, I feel that measure and reiterate. So you conduct quarterly milestone reviews to see the behavioral shifts, how they are progressing on their business KPIs, or they are refine their, and then you refine their journey continuously. So basically, if I say you combine a diagnostic, the second you do a choiceable, give them a choice curriculum, real world practice, you give them some immersive technology, you give them coaching, you give them reflections, and that's the way you actually create a very dynamic, tailored leadership journey, and that truly will stick, rather than making a prescription for them ki, hey, you are a such and such leader of a such and such function, so this is your curriculum, this is what you need to undergo. This doesn't actually work in today's world. It's more of let the leader understand what is good for them. You only become a facilitator, you only provide them with all those tools, assessment strengths, and their understanding their profile, and let them decide what will actually help them to learn. And as a group of a facilitator or from an L&D space, what you try to do is you give them those right tools so that they have that learning very immersive. So that is what I can say to make it more personalized and experience based.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pathak. I love the fact that you got an AI right at the beginning of your talk, and I personally believe that we have still not understood the complete potential of AI. Right now, it's still in the cut, copy, paste kind of a level that we are using AI. But AI by itself, at least what I understand is it at least opens up the pathway. It's making things much more simpler. Of course, it cannot be as simple as just cut, copy, paste, doing something blindly, but at least it gives us a sense of direction that we can use. So yeah, that goes a very long way in actually enabling to make the journey more personalized and experience based, where we kind of select the right kind of thing. Having said that, Ms. Kamatka, I'm coming to you. What, according to you, are the most effective methods, be it coaching, simulation, mentoring, uh, that's being used to develop leaders today?
Thank you for the question. The most effective leadership development today in today's world, uh, I would say blended learning approach. Okay, so all three are important: coaching, stimulation, and mentoring. All three are important equally. So let me explain it to you how all these three are important. Coaching focuses only on specific performance goals. Okay, it is often initiated by an organization or an individual with a specific goal in mind. Okay, so what a coach does is, there is a specific goal which is assigned to the coach, that you need to coach this person to become a better leader. Okay, so once that is done, the work of the coach is finished. Okay, and personal guidance will help the leader to, especially the coaches, it will help the coaches to identify the blind spots. Okay, build self-awareness in a person. Okay, develop targeted skills. So this is what a coach does. Okay, once the specific goal is done, the job of the coach is done. Okay, so whereas in mentoring is not like that. Mentoring is between two-person, and it happens with a mutual respect. Okay, and what a mentor does is mentor will always share some real world wisdoms. Okay, how to work and build on a relationship. Okay, and mentoring can be an ongoing support. Okay, so it could be professionally as well as personally. Okay, so we all have a mentor in our family or wherever we have studied or at work. So we all have a mentor. I'll give you an example. So at home, parents are our mentor. Okay, so they are the ones who are mentoring us, like, how to become a good human being, how to become a good citizen. Okay, how to become a good a good a student or a working professional. So they are the ones who have mentored and who have left us in this world. Okay, so mentors they guide with the overall they will guide us overall, whether it could be personally or professionally. Okay, so then again, stimulation, how stimulation is very important. Okay, stimulation will help us to think critically and independently by giving the role plays, by helping the the employees or people to go when they go through the role plays, and when they start thinking critically and independently, they will learn, if I want to become a better leader, if I handle a situation in this way, I will be able to come up with a good solution. Okay, so challenges, assuming there might be a challenge in the future, when a challenge comes up, how do I handle this challenges, and how should I be ready for handling these challenges, and exploring new ideas and approaches, embracing learning and curiosity. So by this, I think, a person, all these three, coaching, stimulation, and mentoring, all the three are more important to develop our leaders in today's world, is what I say.
Thank you, Ms. Kapat. And I like the fact that you mentioned about mentoring, about it being available, not just from an professional spectrum. There are mentors everywhere for us to look at who actually makes sense. But that also says that the individual has the need to learn, the want to learn. So, having said that, would like to go on to Mr. Vahal. So, what role do cross-functional and cross-cultural experiences play in leadership development?
Thank you for that question, Prakash. Very interesting. Cross-functional and cross-cultural. These are two different aspects, if I'm allowed to say so, right? Let's talk about cross-functional per se, right? Again, depending on the industry, I think uh, a leader has to expand his or her wings and not restrict themselves to just one particular domain or a process per se. I'll give you a simple example. I come from the capital markets background or the BFSI background. If I am a leader leading a reconciliation function, right, that is one subset of the larger functions that we do for the global investment banks, right? Now if I am a BU head of a reconciliation, a leader managing a 200 people shop or a 300 people shop, right? What are the opportunities available for me? Have I seen everything in this spectrum? We in our industry we always talk about E to E, end to end, right? As a leader, Dr. Kavita was talking about setting the right example. How do I make myself relevant in the system? Today I may be leading one particular process. Is that something which is going to give me satisfaction? Am I satisfied with just being leading a 200 people shop or a 300 people shop? How am I making myself relevant? How am I aligning myself with the dynamic environment in which we operate, cutting across all the industries? Whether you talk about BFSI, you talk about hospitality, you talk about oil and gas, any industry you name it, we work in a very, very dynamic environment, as I said earlier also, right? So the onus is on me as a leader to make myself relevant, right? And the advantage that I bring to the table as a leader is that I have my one downs and two downs to look at my shop floor, look at my process. And a leader is essentially required when there is firefighting, right? uh, Needless to say that every day there is some or the other firefighting which a leader does, right? But having said that, I have that advantage, unless and until I am working as an individual contributor, that my esteemed panelist Disha ma'am talked about, when she was an IC, right? That then we are talking of a different spectrum. But if I'm a leader who's got his one downs, managers and team leaders, again depending on the hierarchy that we follow, right, that actually gives me some space to expand my wings. Today if I am a leader of reconciliation, I can look at settlements as the another process. I can look at corporate actions, I can look at asset servicing, and I can try to go to the shop floor, sit with the SMEs, understand the process, shadow the process. At a leadership level, you are not required to do the L1, L2, L3, L4, L5 levels of transaction, but at a conceptual level, at a process level, you should know everything, and that is how you set the right example for others to follow, right? So I think when if you yourself as a leader, you take that first step that okay, today I want to learn something new, I want to learn about the other process and how it is impacting me. In our industry or in the L&D industry, we talk about SIPOC, which is supplier input process output customer, right? Somebody is supplying information to me, I am processing that, and it is becoming an output or input for somebody else who's using it for the end client, right? So do I know the entire cycle, right? The onus is on me as a leader. If I want my people to grow, we always say, have you spent 18 months in a process before you start applying for an IJP or a job role which has been posted? There is a criteria which says, have you spent 18 months, 24 months? Again, cutting across organization, there could be different criterias, right? But have I, as a leader, am I setting the right example for my one downs, two down, three downs, for them to also think on those lines that, okay, if I'm working for an X organization, there is so much to learn, there is so much to grow. We only talk about getting vertical hikes. Today, if I am an associate, I want to become a senior associate, a team leader, a manager, AVP, VP, BU head, or whatever, right? But we don't think in terms of growing ourselves by upskilling ourselves or adding more to our domain knowledge, adding more to our process knowledge. So I think cross functional upskilling is extremely, extremely important, and as leaders, the onus is on us to take that first step for us, for others to follow. Now, talking about cross cultural part, Prakash, that you alluded to, again, being sensitive to the cultures that we are servicing is extremely, extremely important. I think majority of the issues or concerns that we see across the floor is that we are not sensitive to the other culture. For example, we are working out of or we support GCCs out of offshoring locations like India, Sri Lanka, or any other country where any organization set up their GCCs. Now, what is the role of these GCCs? They are servicing different jurisdictions across Asia Pacific, across EMEA, across MENA region, across Americas. Now we have to be very, very sensitive to the culture. What is acceptable in a UK kind of an environment might not be acceptable in America's environment, right? So I think as leaders, uh, it is our responsibility. That is the first thing a leader should do when he or she is setting up a process or onboarding new people. Sensitize them on the culture. I can give so many examples, but I'm bound by the no confidentiality clause. I cannot take any names here, but I have seen scenarios where the relationships have gone sour because we have not been sensitive to the culture. I think that's the first thing. It's like, we when we start any training program, what is the first thing that we do? We do an ice breaking activity, right? So similarly, being sensitive to the culture is like an ice breaking activity. I need to understand the sensitivities of the other culture. In 2023, I got an opportunity to, in fact, in 2024, I got an opportunity to travel to Australia to support a particular transition. Now, for me, it was a new experience because I was traveling to Australia for the first time. I had traveled to other parts of the globe in my earlier roles, but I was traveling to Australia for the first time. And for me, it threw a new challenge, not in terms of the domain knowledge or the process knowledge. I was sent because I brought in certain amount of experience or knowledge, right? But what was a big challenge for me was that not to offend somebody in Australia by saying something intentionally or unintentionally, which is not acceptable in their culture, right? So I read a lot of books, I saw a lot of YouTube videos. My daughter also sent me a lot of links, thanks to AI and whatnot you have these days. But and I made sure the advantage that I had was that there were a lot of uh, Indians, NRIs, who were working out of that office, and that actually helped me to understand the finer nuances of how the native Australian actually behaves and interacts with you. So I think that, to summarize in short, I think cross-functional, cross-cultural sensitization is extremely important in today's time. Thank you.
Absolutely, Mr. Bahal. And actually, for Indians, it is so much more important. I'm saying, as a nation, forget the entire country. I'm saying, even if you take one particular state in our country, the north and south of the state itself, people are kind of different. Maybe their speech or their behavioral pattern, the way they talk. So it is
Absolutely.
so important for us. And even with cross-functional, I suddenly remembered when you were talking, one of the instances very early in my career, I was in an organization where an individual joined as the head of sales, and he insisted that he wants to spend about 1 week with the customer support team. And it's known fact that, sales and customer support teams are hammer and tongs when at work. But he actually sat down, and I was kind of inquisitive. I asked him, why do you do that? And he's like, you know what, if I don't understand their pain points, we don't work. We cease to work as a team. Having said that, for him, it was a personal learning, but what it did to the team members, it was huge because here they immediately saw a person who really cares. So the entire aspect of leadership, having empathy and emotional intelligence, I actually saw it in action that day. So it was quite interesting from a cross-functional and cross-cultural perspective out here. So with that, we come to our next segment. We've already spoken about AI being one of the important things. But in today's time, where technology is playing such an important role in every aspect of our life, would like to just spend some time in trying to understand leveraging technology and analytics in leadership development. How do we go about using digital tools and insights to enable data-driven leadership growth? So with that, Mr. Pathak, I would like to put the first question to you. How is technology transforming the way leadership development is designed and delivered today, sir?
Well, that's a very, very pertinent question in today's context. And if we see, we have moved far beyond our classroom-based programs. And today, technology enables almost leadership development to be more personalized, scalable, immersive, and measurable. While I do not take the or dilute the importance of a human interface or a human interaction, which happens in a classroom training, we can never replace it with the technology. That's a fundamental which all need to believe. But we can definitely augment the entire learning through technology. That's what I believe, very personal at the personal level. And so one is you talked about AI, and obviously that's something which is coming on a big way. And if I see today, we started the AI journey somewhere 3 years. We are almost matured in this, and we are somewhere in the midline of this journey. We have still not matured, but we are in the midline where somehow we are trying to understand what is all this about Gen AI and the other technologies that are coming up. Okay, so and obviously all of you know that AI has got various categories. Okay, so and today is the era of generative AI, and we looked at the so coming to again the question back, the how do a personalization is important, and personalization is possible with these AI powered platforms. Now we create tailored learning pathways based on your one is role, the skill gap, third is the behavioral feedback, and therefore what I said in the last discussion or the last question also, I said the leaders don't follow a syllabus, they engage in a dynamic journey which is built for them, okay, with the help of AI. The second is the immersive learning experiences. So we do a lot of your this virtual reality simulations now place leaders in a real world scenarios. Now let's take an example of some scenarios like conflict resolution, crisis response, or a boardroom negotiation of a leader for a leader, or help them to build emotional intelligence and decision making skills through practice and not only through a theory. Okay, so like immerse, so that's what we put them into immersive learning experiences, okay, with the help of technology. And then there is a data driven design and a feedback. So advanced analytics track everything from starting from their own engagement in the learning journey to the behavior that is getting changed. Okay, so now this allows us to measure the impact in real time and continuously refine the experience. Then the fourth, I would say, the access to global coaching and peer learning. Now we have now like an app aggregator. We today have you have digital platforms and we have access to global coaching. It's not only a few coaches or assigned coaches. So I have a repository of coaches in my application. Okay, and I can actually choose if I want to get to know this or I need to improve my area or efficiency on certain area or competence in certain area. I can actually, with the help of AI, understand who are the best coaches in this area, right? And that coach may not be from an Indian or the same country. It can be from any country, and that's the way you can have an access to global coaching with this technology coming into place. And you can actually, like in Amazon and all, you see the star ratings, right? You have a 5-star rating, so he's a coach with a 5-star rating. Okay, so you can always opt for that coach, right? And then you can actually schedule your time. If your time doesn't suit, you can go for another coach where your time and schedule will suit. Okay, so these are the some of the customization that you can do with the help of technology today. Okay, it's now what we talk about, the digital platforms now offer on-demand coaching, real-time feedback, and peer-based learning across geographies. And this democratizes the development and build a culture of shared learning.
I think we just seem to have lost Mr. Pathak. I guess he's having some kind of technical issues. But if I may, he was putting up some real interesting points. So uh, I would like to know from Dr. Pitale, um, from your experience, ma'am, how effective are virtual simulations and
Yeah,
scenario-based
I
learning
think
in
I think there
preparing?
was a technical snag. Am I
Oh,
audible still?
yes, Mr. Pathak, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I'm back in the. So sorry for the technical glitch, and I think there was something problem with the net. Uh, the last but not the least, I would just to continue. It was a real time and just in time learning. So mobile learning, micro nudges, interactive content, keep leadership development embedded in daily work and not separate from them. So in short, if I see technology makes leadership development more agile, inclusive, and impactful than ever it has been. Okay, and it's not about every you make them sit in a classroom and make them learn everything. Okay, while classroom is important, I'm not discarding it. But while tech powers the platform, the human experience, empathy, self-awareness, and purpose must still be at heart of it. That's what I was trying to say. So it's about how do we combine these both, and this is how I can say that technology can transform the way the leadership development can be designed. So
Absolutely. So, in fact, Mr. Pathak, when you just had a technical glitch, I had actually picked up from points what you had mentioned and gone in for Dr. Pitale,
No
basically
problem.
trying to check on how effective are virtual simulations and scenario-based learning in preparing leaders for real-world complexity.
Yeah, thank you for those questions. And I think most of it Mr. Pathak has already said, but
Hmm.
just to put more light on that, it's very, very important. Like all modes of learning are important, but as Mr. Pathak rightly said, today's era of the digitalization and automation and AI coming into place, there's a lot of virtual stimulations, virtual learnings. But I feel whichever mode of the learning platforms that you take, whether it is an online learning or it is exponential learning, experimental learning, it's a classroom learning, it has to be scenario based. There's something, I have specifically developed and got patented from University of Cambridge. It is the SIR approach. It is scenario, it's an information, it is response, right? So you as leaders or you as the process owners, you have different scenarios because you're continuously in touch with the top management, with the promoters and the directors of the company. You're continuously in touch with your downline, understanding what's happening, and there are a lot of scenarios that goes around. So you have a bucket of information around. So now that scenario, when you put forth in a particular informative manner, what I meant to say by an informative manner is there is specific thing that you want to draw, which is a need of the hour, which is a pulse of the environment that you want as a leader, that your people should know. There's something called good to know, good to implement, good to understand, good to exhibit, right? So you can put that kind of required information in that particular scenario, and then the kind of response probably your end user, your end stakeholders, or your customers or your vendors would look forward. Now making people understand from that point of view becomes very, very important. And if your learning module is made in such kind of platforms, you're using such kind of stimulation, it creates a lot of a safe environment of learning. It will also build up a lot of resilience, because even if you're falling down, you know what kind of an information was expected in that particular scenario, right? What kind of responses you can get, because then you're putting it into different forums. You're just not putting it for one group. When you put this kind of a scenario learning approach towards different groups, there's a lot of insights that you get from your audience. You will also understand the different emotional psyche, the psychological thought process of people, to understand one particular scenario in a different environment, in different circumstances. That becomes very, very important. And it's learning, it is how do you really engage people into those scenarios. So your role plays, your activities. So when I meant to say activities, it's something that a person can do it, relate it, and implement. It is not those funny fizzy games that we get on a lot of on YouTubes and the other platforms. But when you say role plays and games, would be something that is actually possible, practically happening at the shop floor, or at the or at your desk in your working environment. So having that kind of understanding, if you put forth, probably then you're learning, then you put it into a gamification way, you put it into different videos, you put different technological usage to put this thing into various platforms, and then that's a technological advancements, what I would say. But this kind of learning is important. What I meant to say is, because that will only give you a real understanding, and it will increase engagement of your audience. Because unless and until I'm not able to resonate of what the learning is, whichever platforms you use a lot of great the chat GPTs, AI, and a lot of automation tools and techniques which are coming. These are all going to be fake. These are all going to be, I'm sorry if there are experts of this industry here, I'm not demeaning you, but what I meant to say is that at the end of the day, it's a technology. It's a man-driven technology. That human element is very, very important. That emotional intelligence, that psyche, that feel factor is very much important in any kind of your learnings, right? And then you put it into a virtual platform with a lot of good gamification, puzzles, and stimulations, and whatever art of technology you can put it into it. It will definitely give you good result. It will aid good productivity in terms of learning and understanding of the concept. But unless and until it is not real time based, it is not relating to your actual shop floor, it is not relating to your actual corporate environment, your case studies are not real time based, however you try to aesthetically improve the cosmetic value of your learning, it's going to be zero, right? It's not going to yield. So I mean, it's a I really request all the trainers, L&D experts here, including myself, when we do this thing, we have to be very, very thoughtful of what kind of stimulations are you're putting in, right? It is good to have nice fancy PPTs and videos and gamifications and your generative AI techniques and hacks on the board, right, to show your audience. But if it's just going to be a fun learning for a moment, it's not going to yield results at the end. And then when it is not yielding results, the ROI is not seen, then the management says that training se kuch nahi hota hai. Then it becomes a tick mark active, and then we go back to the first discussion what we started with, right? So hence, to make it more powerful, empowering your people, making it impactful, it has to be on real time basis. Sit with your downline, sit with your HODs. And as a leader, I would prefer, because this is what I've seen from my leaders and my seniors in the automobile industry, in the telecom industry that I've worked. One of the classic example I've seen, when I was working with Wipro, infotech, uh, sector. When I was working with Wipro, we had this Reliance Process Geo client. It was that process. Reliance Jio had newly launched, and Wipro was given that BPO project to handle. I have seen the CFO and the CTO, both of them, right? I'm not naming them, but then both of them coming and sitting with the junior most executive, handling a call or a chat on an email, right? Hearing the call and saying, Baba, you take the call. I'm not hearing, I'm not auditing your call. I just wanted to understand how is things happening. And then after the call, putting it on a training mode and telling him that how would you do it in a different, it was nice that you did it, but how beautifully you could have handled it other way around. That kind of impact is what is required in your all kind of stimulations. Even if you're putting it into using all your technologies and making that kind of a module, this kind of an effect is required, because the kind of touch that person, that executive got by a senior leader sitting and making, this is also part of learning. This is also part of coaching and mentoring, right? You don't really require a very high equipped softwares and technologies. Yes, that is a need of the hour, but that's not only the need of the hour, right? So that is how you can articulate your learning modules and put it in a very different way. Then you take your people on the floor, then you take it on the field, do the exponential learning, do a lot of physical activities, make them go through the different difficult tasks, make them understand what is resilience, what is team building, what is rapport building, what is co-working together, how do you pass through a small paper your entire body, make all those crazy activities. Then those all will be very appealing. Then you put those puzzles on with your AI tools and techniques, then then you put your those chatbots talking and asking different questions, and you have to, like an MCQ, answer and see the pulses very well. Then this all aesthetic things will make a good value for your learning. But important is, unless and until don't relate to the actual scenarios of your businesses, try to understand what are different case studies happening in the corporate. What is your competitors doing? As a leader, go and check those case studies, have those know-how, and put that into a practice in your learnings. I think then any kind of your virtual learning, any kind of stimulations, any kind of your new hacks in your technology learnings will make your learnings very, very strong, very, very powerful and impactful, because you'll be able to see the ROI coming up. Yeah, that's all what I had to say, Mr. Prakash.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pitali. And I think bottom line, what I'm taking is one of the most important things that I truly believe in is know your audience. I think that becomes one of the most important aspects of every journey that we take, right? And AI, though everyone believes that AI is going to take over work and all that, but I don't think so. I think that human element is so important. And one thing that is going to keep us on is the EQ quotient, like the emotional quotient that we talk about, that needs to be worked on individuals. And then one of the important things that we are coming out is we're working with a lot of data. Thanks to technology, we're working a whole lot of data, and data is considered today to be more costlier than gold. And they're saying in future that's going to be the new gold. So having said that, Ms. Kamath, I would like to take this up to you. What role do learning analytics and performance data play in identifying future leaders?
Thank you for the question. Learning analytics and performance data, this will help us to identify the high performance and high potential employees. Okay, so we can identify the high performance, hyper employees, and we can put them into a immersive skilling, and we can develop them to become a future leaders. Okay, so this is one of the points. And then, this, the analytic report will also help us to track their key leadership competencies, how they were engaging in the team meetings, in the group discussions. Okay, and also we can collect feedback from their peers, from their from their reporting managers, and from their reportees. Okay, and this will help us in case if there is any behavioral issues, or if there is any performance issues. We can touch base the areas where they have to improve themselves, and then we can put them into a coaching and mentoring, and we can help. We can help the high potential employees to develop themselves and become a future leader. Okay, And also by these analytic reports, we will we can identify the employees and their willingness to tackle the challenges, and uh, employees who are seeking for help in their behavioral changes. Okay, so we can tackle such employees, and we can put them into a immersive skilling, and then we can develop the future leaders, is what I say.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Kamath. I think that will, and that gives rise to where I want to understand what's happening in the real world scenario from the points that you mentioned. Mr. Wang, this for you. Are AI-powered tools being used in leadership development at your organization? And if yes, then how?
Thank you for that question, Prakash. I think AI, digitization, automation are the buzzword that everybody is talking about. And in some cases, again, I'm putting my neck out. In some cases, what I've seen is that these are very loosely used terms. Everybody talks about, oh, I am working with AI, I am doing this, I have digitized so many things and everything. You're talking about so many tools, the chat GPTs and the Power BIs and whatnot, right? Uh, I'm one of those. Again, I'm putting my neck out. I know the esteemed panel is much more experienced than me, but I'm putting my neck out, and I have a more traditional approach. Where I feel that even though we can leverage any automation tool, any AI tool today, but at the end of the day you still need a human intervention, right? uh, Whether you are using the chat GPTs of the world or any other tool, there is a human who is giving the command to a chat GPT or any other tool, and basis that command only you are getting certain responses, right? For example, if you are subscribing to a LinkedIn Learning platform. LinkedIn Learning offers more than 20,000 courses, and they have also launched their AI chatbot help. You give that command that, okay, I'm a manager, I need to develop certain skills, give me the options, right? At the end of the day, there is a human intervention required. I did a 4-day learning carnival last year, and it had more than 32, 33 sessions. We had sessions around chat GPT, we had sessions around Scrum, Agile, Waterfall, whatnot. We also invited industry leaders to come and talk. We had a simulation on trade life cycle, which was the most sought after session, right? And more than 900 plus employees attended this program, right? And you know why there was so much of what you call participation or the turnaround that we saw, because there was a human being standing there emphasizing on a lot of points. The chat GPT session, which was for about 75 minutes, 90 minutes, there was somebody standing there in the room telling people what to do, how to download the app, or how do you give the commands and everything, right? So I think Dr. Kavita also alluded to this point, that we just cannot ignore the human element. Yes, we are living in an age where technology gives us the answer for everything, but I think the human intervention is definitely required somewhere, right? And of course, across all the organizations, they are leveraging different AI tools to come up with a lot of different training programs. But at the end of those training programs, you still need a trainer to come in the room for just 10 minutes, 15 minutes, reiterate the important learnings coming out of that, auto generated program or any AI tool that we are using. So again, Prakash, I'm putting my neck out. I'm one of those traditional leaders who still believes that to emphasize whatever is coming out of a particular training program, you need a human figure in that room. I
Absolutely.
speak for all the training community.
I think
Thank
Dr.
you.
Pitale wanted to add something to this. Oh, okay. She's agreeing to it. And yes, I think it's also, I would like to take it one step
Yeah,
further
yeah,
and
I
say,
totally agree to this because
yeah,
yeah, but, sorry to intervene, Prakash. I
sure.
truly agree and resonate to what Mr. Kapilwal is saying because I also belong to that traditional way format. However modernization you have, right? Unless and until it's not human driven, because artificial intelligence, right? It is the first word is artificial. However intelligent it would be, it is still an artificial, right? It is a we know I was being called as a speaker by Google this December to speak about how AI is changing this thing. I said I do respect that you have called me to speak this, but however Google advances and put chips into the brain, that chip is still made by a human hand, right? And if human hand is going to construct that chip in a negative format, right, the brain is going to work negative, right? And that's how the leadership works, that's how your learning really works, right? So I truly resonate to what Mr. Kapil said, right? However, whatever you would do, unless and until there's not a human touch, right,
Absolutely.
nothing can work on. All over to you, Mr. Prakash.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. But you know what? I just want to share out here. Whenever we're having a good discussion, we are at the risk of losing out on time. And I think we've just kind of achieved that. We are very close to the end. But then there's a very important segment. And I really do not want our participants to miss out on the segment. But my request would be if we keep it brief so that all of us get a chance to share our thoughts. The last segment is building a culture that supports future leaders, basically embedding leadership at every level of organization. I would like to start off again with Mr. Vahal. So, how do you create a leadership pipeline that goes beyond senior roles and nurtures potential early?
Wow, fantastic. How do you identify? Can you rephrase your question? Sorry, I went into some zone,
Okay,
Prakash.
sure. So, my basic thing is how do you create a leadership pipeline that just goes beyond senior roles? You know, we are some of the thought processes, we are just looking at the seniority of the person. But today we are also talking about succession planning. How do we nurture potential early? Like, we are able to recognize the potential early and then how do we nurture it?
How do we nurture it? Simple, treat them as your family. How you treat your kids. You nurture your kids, you nurture your son, you nurture your daughter, you hold their hand and tell them what is right, what is wrong. This is the right direction to take in life. I think the same model needs to be replicated in a corporate world. And as I said earlier also, Prakash, everybody aspires for growth. Everybody aspires for growth. Now, people run after designations, people run after titles. For me, titles and designations are superficial in nature. It is the value that you bring to the table that takes you places, right? That will take you places. Today I may be just a team leader or a senior associate, but I bring immense amount of domain knowledge, I bring immense amount of process knowledge, and the managing director of the company or the CEO of the company knows me by name. I think that is growth for me. That is identifying a hypo in me, that something that Disha ma'am was alluding to, identifying hypos, right? So I think uh, it, it all depends on the mindset. It all depends on the organization culture. What is the kind of culture you are cultivating? What is the kind of messaging that you are driving in the organization, right?
Hmm.
Are you pushing your people, just to run after titles, number one, or are you enabling your people with the right set of domain knowledge, process knowledge, technology support, and everything, right? So it all boils down to the culture of the organization. It all boils down to your individual principles that you live by on a day-to-day basis, right? What is that you want to drive, how you want to drive. And there are zillion ways in which you can identify your next line of leadership, or second line of leadership, right? Again, it depends on what is the kind of messaging that you are giving to them, right? A positive intent. Today, I if I am eligible for an IJP, right, and if I don't crack that IJP, one of my fellow friend or fellow colleague cracked that IJP, I go into a state of depression, right? Or I feel dejected. Now, does that mean it's the end of journey for me? The answer is no, right? If I have failed at one IGP, it does not mean that I will fail at all the IGPs. Maybe today I am lacking some bit which my leader can support me with, So it's creating that supplementary support which will propel me to the next level, or which will help me to get that growth. I'm being sensitive to the time. So
Sure,
giving
thank you so much,
rest to my
Mr.
vocal
Vatal.
cords.
But
Thank you.
your entire what you shared with us just gives rise to the next question to Dr. Pitale. Ma'am,
Yeah.
what role does organizational culture play in supporting leadership growth and, for a lack of a better word, if I mean you, experimentation?
Yeah, for me, what I feel is, culture is something that speaks in and out about the organization. It is your skeleton, it is your backbone. If your backbone is weak, you can't stand, right? Otherwise, we won't have seen, the youngest CEO of if you have to name the youngest CEO of the Tata Group is Avni Davda. The youngest GM is we have the Shantanu Naidu. That's the culture what these people have created. And culture something is something that speaks about your value, your ethics, your norms, your principles, your backgrounds, your knowledge that the company has. It's a combination of everything. It is by your culture that would depict what kind of manpower, what kind of quality of people do you bring in, what kind of quality workforce you bring in, what kind of psychological safety you build in, right? Because we have a lot of imposter syndromes nowadays happening, and we speak a lot about it. We speak about the burnouts, we speak about the work life balance. All this can get managed if the culture is strong. I've seen organizations, I don't want to name, that I've seen organizations where a person is ill, hospitalized, still the person gives, the HOD gives a call, yaar, wo file kahan pe zara bata dena, rest you please take care. Boss, the person is admitted, he is not well. Is this the culture? This is how would you treat it? And rightly Mr. Kapil said, it is like taking care of your kids. This is how would you take care of your kid if your kid is hospitalized, right? Are we really sensitive? Do we really mean empathy and compassion? Do we really mean collaboration? And if it's
Okay.
so, right, then your culture is not speaking, because the way you act in such kind of a scenario, right, shows that everything is just namesake. Those are nice, good corporate jargons. Because if that wasn't in your culture, you could have given that space and time for that person to come by. You could have created second line of information or an authority who could take care of that particular workforce. You could have created that kind of a delegation, and that's what is culture. Culture is nothing but culture is just not your facial outlook of your organization as a brand, what you look, right? But culture is something, it's a deep sea wherein the people would sail into the bottom and still come up happily, that I'm still in a safe zone, right? I'm not getting drowned. Rightly Mr. Kapil said, if the IGP is not hit, it should be the culture of the organization. It is okay if you don't clear one particular round of IGPs or one kind of level of promotions, right? But the company still supports you physically, mentally, psychologically, emotionally. It's very, very important. That's what is culture. Culture is just not the backbone, but culture is and as a body without a blood, a body without an oxygen cannot survive. A company without a good culture can't survive, right? If the plant has to grow, it needs to have strong solid. It needs to have fertile soil with manure, with good kind of fertilizers and watering. That's the combination that brings the tree into, flourishing tree, giving a lot of fruits and flowers. And that's what is the culture. How you really make that all things, how do you put your ethics, values, principle, knowledge, your industry experts and your emotions, everything together in a right parameter, in a right content, in right percentile, that becomes your culture. So because it should not happen, that your policies only speaks jargons, अरे यार ये हमारे फितरत में ही नहीं है, ये हमारे उसूलों में नहीं आता, right? So what is usulo and fitrat? It's nothing but it's your culture, the way you look forward. It should be as transparent as the glass. It should be as transparent as the reflection. Whatever the company says, whatever the leadership says, is seen into implementation, and that's culture. It's okay. Culture is something cannot be stagnant. Some culture can't be something that for ages and generations you're following the same thing. With the world of automation and digitalization, the culture also has to change. It was India's culture. We never went and did the war front, but when it is required, we changed our culture and we took the right decisions. As a country, if we can change, right? As organizations also, we need to change, and that's what is culture. So culture is your blood, culture is is your oxygen, culture is your brain, culture is your backbone. It's everything important to survive effectively safe in today's competitive workforce. And that's what is culture for me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patel. So very well put.
Thank you.
Mr. Pathak, how do you encourage feedback-rich environments that foster continuous leadership learning?
Well, in the interest of time, I would like to keep it very short this time. And so, creating a feedback-rich environment, I think it starts with a lot of psychological safety, which is very critical here. So, leader must model vulnerability by asking for feedback themselves. So, when the leaders say, "What I could have done better," it sets the tone, and this is what we need to encourage. And we require obviously psychological safety for this. Next, we make a feedback a routine feedback a routine thing and not an annual event that sometime, oh, this is a time where people need to I need to sit for a feedback. Okay, it should be a routine thing. We should embed like quick feedback loops into weekly check-ins, post-project reviews, and just it should be very timely. And it's not that we wait for some thing to finish and then we have a feedback kind of a thing. It's a continuous process which we need to encourage. It's not about fixing some time and formal meetings for taking and seeking feedback. Uh, it can be just a small chat and a gossip where the feedback can be taken. That should be kind of a culture we should build in through this leadership. And um, and also we need to diversify feedback sources. So feedback is not only from a certain group of people; it's a peers, team members, and even your own customers. Okay, they are very good people who would like give you the right feedback, how you have been perceived, and that actually will give a leader a full picture of their impact, what they're bringing in. And this is what I would like to share, that it need to be a continuous process and not a time bound activity or a annual event. And that's the way you really encourage a feedback rich environment and for a continuous learning.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Pathak. And now for the last question today, just to kind of summarize and get a real-time scenario. Ms. Kamath, what are your strategies for ensuring leadership development aligns with long-term business continuity?
Thank you for the question. I'll keep it very short and simple. One is identify the high potential, high performance employees and put them into a immersive skilling training. Okay. Use scenario planning and training. Okay. Include stimulations and role play based kind of trainings. Okay. Foster a culture of continuous learning, as Kapil sir and Kavita ma'am were discussing about it. Okay. Promote a growth mindset and provide ongoing learning opportunity, which includes coaching and mentoring. Okay. And encourage adaptability and self-driven development among future leaders. Okay. So encourage cross-functional rotations, as Kapil sir spoke about this, how important the cross-functional rotations are in today's scenario. Rotate high potential employees throughout different departments or unit. Okay. This will help build broad organizational knowledge and foster collaboration, which are vital during crisis and leadership transition. So during the time of crisis, the employee will be able to collaborate and work as a team. So these are my points about the strategies for ensuring the future leaders development.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Kamath. And you know what? We've come towards the end of our discussion. It was, for me, it was a very good learning experience. I got so many points. One of the things that I actually thought about is it's not about leadership is no longer about having all the answers. I think it's about building resilience, fostering trust, and creating space for innovation. And as just taking up from Dr. Pitale, as organizations, we must rethink how we identify and nurture leaders, not just for hierarchy, but for impact.
Yeah.
A big
So
thank
just
you to, sure,
yeah.
please.
Sorry, just before you could end, just a one thing that I would like to add, we all leaders needs to understand that we are like that Krishna who needs to get down from the chariot to tell the Arjuna, though Arjuna was a great, the expert, the warrior, but we need to get down from our seats and tell what is required. right? We need to be like that lion who thinks that yes, the lion is not the king because he can run faster, or he is swift like a leopard, or he is tall like a giraffe. We all know about this thing, but he believes that he has that kind of a role. Even his silence can create a difference. That is the spark the leader needs to have. That is what a leader needs to really imbuild into and imbibe into the culture of the organization. And that is where your leadership would stand. It is liking your people however they are. Don't name them, don't blame them. That otherwise I've seen leaders blaming, naming, and putting notations. What are you doing? You're blaming your own self, because these people are reporting to you at the end of the day, right? You have to be energetic always. You have to be epitome of knowledge. You have to be assertive in your leadership. You have to come with that dynamic, diverse situational understanding, right? And you have to be realistic. And last, as if you say leaders, you need to have synchronization, within all those qualities which is required, that makes you real strong and capable, that you cannot be moved on, right? You're like that Himalayas who stands tall, facing all those different situations, but still smiling and protecting the borders, because you are the guardians of everything. You're a custodian of your people. You are the guardian, you're the custodian, the angel for your organization. And if the custodian is only not in the right school, right, everything will go for it. So it's a humble request for every leader, right, to have that kind of sensitization and understanding when you're really talking to your people around. Try to talk to the, it is, you, when you come to your office, talk to your security guard and just tap him on the back and say, how are you? Because of your security senses, my company is well protected, and see the difference in that person's behavior, right? It is okay for a leader to come down to that level and speak. And I think that is what we all, wherever we are practicing, and we should practice it more, we should enhance it more at the end of the day. That's what I would like to quote with.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that, because I think this happens to be one of a very important point, and I'm glad that we didn't miss out on this just because of lack of time. But thank you for sharing that for this.
My pleasure.
With this, a very big thank you for all our panel members. I think you came out with some very interesting points, just gave us a lot of things to think about. And to everyone out here, thank you for participating in this discussion just by being a good audience. Let's continue to learn, challenge, and support each other as we prepare for a future that's sure to surprise us. I think that's all I would like to say at the end. Thank you so much.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, EduRamp, for organizing this wonderful event.
Thanks, everyone, all the panel members. As we conclude today's discussions on leadership and the development of the future, we ensure that your insights have really illuminated the path for future shaping for the future ready leader. And all our audience who have been patiently listening to us and your engagement have made your curiosity to learning more impactful and transformative. Let's take this learning forward, fostering leadership that embraces agility, emotional intelligence, innovation. Together, we can build a future where leaders are prepared for facing any challenges that come their way. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Cherian. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.